Rashley from Rashley's Barbecue, and today we're going to do a little fajita soup, a little taste of the border. So it's going to be a real simple recipe. Going to have fajitas, tomatoes, tomato sauce, potatoes, just whatever you like to put in it. This is not going to be a recipe. As Deer Meat for Dinner likes to say, this is just going to be an idea. This is going to be a guide, and we're going to wing it, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first thing we're going to do is cut up the fajitas. Alright, so the fajitas here are just, they're pre-marinated fajitas from HEB. Gives the fajitas a different flavor in the soup that you wouldn't get just using plain fajita meat or plain meat of any kind. So we're going to go ahead and cut the excess fat and silver skin off of them. You're going to notice they look a little browned already, and that's because I had to defrost them in the microwave because I forgot to put them out early enough. Last minute video, don't you know? So here we go. We're just going to take off any excess fat. It doesn't matter if the meat is kind of hanging out there, because like this piece right here that's just hanging over, because we're going to cut it into bite-sized pieces anyway and throw it in the pan. This silver skin right here, I'll just kind of get under it with a knife and take it off. Makes good dog food. Brown it a little bit, give it to the dogs. I'm going to go ahead and cut it into bite-sized pieces like this, and I'll go ahead and take care of that, and then we'll come back and show you the next step. So y'all stick around. While the meat starts to brown, we're going to cut up some potatoes into whatever size chunks you want. Again, this is just an idea video, so it's up to you. So we're just going to take the potatoes, I'll split them this way, and then maybe I'll cut them into quarters lengthwise, and then cut them into slightly larger than bite-sized chunks across, something like that. So I'll cut up the rest of the potatoes, and then we'll be back. I'll show you the meat that's browning off over here. Okay, so here we go. We have the potatoes all cut up into pieces. Give you a look at what that looks like right here. About that size. They're larger than bite size, but it's up to you, however you like them. And we'll pull you over here in just a second and give you a shot of the meat that's cooking. So we got the meat in the pan. I got it on high right now, just trying to bring it up to temperature. As soon as it gets up and starts to gray off or brown off a little bit, it's going to cook in the soup anyway, but I like to give it just a little brown on the outside. So let me get that going real good, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at it. As for seasonings, we're going to be using this Fiesta black pepper. Fiesta brand is very common down here. We got Fiesta fajita seasoning. But any fajita seasoning you like, use it to season the meat as it cooks, and also to add the seasoning in the pot as the soup is simmering. We're also going to throw in some Knorrs chicken. Caldo con sabor de pollo. And it's just Knorrs chicken flavored bullion in a dry form. We'll add that. We're also going to add diced tomatoes. Right here. Tomatoes. And we're going to add 1 bay leaf. So bay leaf gives a little bit of an earthy flavor, but I don't like too much bay in my soups or my stews. And this is going to come out somewhere between a soup and a stew, a little thicker than a soup, but not quite a true stew, because we're going to have a lot of tomato in it. I'll add 2 or 3 cans of tomato sauce. These are the 8-ounce cans. 2 or 3 depending on how it's going, how much water I have to put in to cover the potatoes and stuff like that. So let me get the meat browning real good, and then we'll come back. Okay, here's the meat browning off. You can see a lot of liquid showing up in the bottom of the pot. So we're going to let that kind of cook out, evaporate a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little fajita seasoning in there while they're in the pot. After we put water in it and we actually make it into a soup, we'll add more fajita seasoning. So while we're waiting for this to brown off, I'm going to chop up an onion. We're going to put a whole onion in there. And I forgot to mention we're also going to use some chopped garlic. So let me get an onion and get it skinned, and we'll start chopping it up and we'll come back. Love that sound. So here we go, we got it. Now it'll start to brown up a little bit. Get some good stuff on the bottom of the pan. As it's starting to brown, I'm going to hit it with some fajita seasoning. Well, this meat has a lot of juice in it, a lot more than I expected. So I'm going to go ahead and drain it off with a colander, take the juices off, and that way I can actually get the meat to brown a little as opposed to just graying off. So I've got a colander set up on top of a plate. I found that draining it into a plate, the fat will set up quicker, and then I can just wipe it with a paper towel to throw it away. So we'll drain that off real quick and then dump it back in the pan. And then it'll begin to brown as opposed to gray. Okay, the meat is browning off now after we drain the juices. Actually getting a little brown on the outside. Got some of this Fiesta brand fajita seasoning. Put a liberal dose in there. It'll kind of set up on the meat as it browns off and give it a good flavor when it's in the soup. So, okay, the meat is browned off pretty nicely here. There we go, starting to get some brown on it. So before we add the liquid ingredients, I'm going to go ahead and put the onion in there, let the onion cook up a little bit, and caramelize just a touch, because it doesn't caramelize once you add the juices. So we'll get the onions caramelized, then we'll start adding the liquid ingredients. Alright, that was pretty quick. You can see the onions are starting to brown, so everything's good now. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Well, I should say 1 can, 1 16-ounce can of diced, 1 can of petite diced tomatoes, but no matter. Just whatever you like is what you need to add in there. I've got 2 cans of tomato sauce, 8-ounce cans already popped open with an opener. We're going to pour those in there. I like to take them over to the sink after I pour them in, run a little water into them, shake them up, and get the last little goodies out. Now everything's a little more laid back. We've got the liquid in there. The food's not going to burn. We'll give it another quick stir to get those tomatoes mixed in good. Bring the onions up a little bit. Before I add the potatoes, I'm going to add the remainder of my ingredients. It's a little tough to stir once we got all the potatoes in there. So I'm going to add some more black pepper. The Fiesta Fajita seasoning has black pepper in it, but I like a little bit more of a kick on in my soup, so we're just going to kick it up just a little bit with some black pepper. We'll just take the top off and sprinkle it in there. There we go, perfect. Love ground black pepper. Minced garlic, or I should say chopped garlic. That's probably going to be about 1.5 tablespoons or something like that. Just dip it out with my knife and toss it in there. Like I said, this is not as much a recipe as it is an idea. So take what I put in it. If you don't like garlic, don't put it in there, or don't add as much. We'll go ahead and toss the bay leaf in there. And Knorrs caldo de pollo. It's just chicken bouillon, but it's in a dry format. And like I say, I use it kind of like salt. So I know about how much to add. I'll give it a quick start right there. And then I'm going to get some more water in there, give it a stir, and then add the potatoes. So I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I got the water, just a big glass of water, not an advertisement for Rudy's, but that glass was handy. So I'm going to toss that in there. We'll give it a stir. Like I said, it's easier to stir before you add the potatoes, get all these spices mixed in a bit. Oh yeah, that's looking good. I'm going to gently add the potatoes in. See how high that comes up. Just about right. Imagine that. And give that a stir. Get them kind of mixed around. Now, it's kind of up to you whether you put the potatoes in now or whether you wait and add them closer to the end. As you know, they're going to get softer if you add them now, but we like them soft, almost mushy. These are russet potatoes. Russet potatoes do stay a little firmer than other potatoes, so kind of keep that in mind. Let me get this boiling, let it boil. The fajitas are only partially cooked, so we're going to need to boil it until the fajitas get tender. And oh boy, they will get tender, just melt in your mouth tender. So let's just let this come to a boil. We'll check on it a couple of times, and then we'll come back and take a look at it when it's done. Alright everybody, as you can see, it's come to a boil and it's looking good, so I'm going to put the top on it, bring it down to just a slow simmer and let it cook for, well, I'll let you know how long it takes. We're going to let it go until the fajitas get tender. Could be a couple hours, could be more, could be less, but we're just going to guesstimate 2 hours right now. So let's get the top on it and bring the temperature down to a simmer. And I'll be back. Thank y'all for watching. I'll be back. Okay, as I told you before, we put some fajita seasoning in it when we were browning the meat, and we might need to adjust that. Well, I just took a quick taste test, and for me, it needs a little more fajita seasoning and it needs a little more salt flavor. So I'm going to pull the Knorrs out and toss in just a little more Knorrs. It's so salty, it'll bring our salt flavor up while also giving it a good flavor from the chicken bouillon. Don't want to over salt it though. Can't take it back out. So that looks good right there. I'll taste it again later, and if it needs a little more, I'll hit it with a little more Knorrs. And it definitely needs a lot of fajita seasoning added to it, so we're going to give it some liberal shakes there. And we'll come back and check that too a little bit later on. So let me get that stirred in, let it simmer a little longer, and then we'll check the seasonings again just a little bit further down the road and see what we need. So we'll be back. Y'all stay tuned. Alright, so it's had a chance to simmer for a little while after we added some extra fajita seasoning, a little black pepper, a little more Knorrs. Let's just take a quick taste test. Oh yeah, that's spot on. Alright, well, I'm going to cover it up and let it just simmer down now. So we're going to dip up some and take a look here. Yeah. Meat, potatoes, onions, that's all I need. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Get some of that juice. The meat's tender. I've already tested it. The potatoes, nice and tender. They stayed together well. Considering it was a 3-hour cook, look at those potatoes. They didn't fall apart. That's good. That's a good thing. That's why I use russet potatoes. So there we are, y'all. Alright, let's take a taste test here. Get a little piece of meat. There we are. Juice. Oh, that's hot. Let me cool it off just a second. That meat is so tender. The fajita seasoning comes through. We got just a little bite from the black pepper. That's good stuff. Let me cut up a little piece of tater there. A little potato. Too hot to eat the whole thing, but the flavor profile is right there where I wanted it to be. So that's it, the fajita soup. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it gave you an idea that you can use to modify it to make it your own. I'm going to put the ingredients in the description box. I want to thank Sapo, Cookin with Sufin Sapo, Lyndon up there in Corpus Christi, for all the advice he's given me along the way. I'll put a link to his channel in the description box, as well as T-Roy Cooks, Troy up in Austin, Joe, Southern Coastal Cooking, Dan Robertson, way up north of the Mason-Dixon line. You guys either gave me advice or you were the influence that drove me to get into online cooking videos. So this is the first one. I know it's a little rough, guys, gals, but hopefully it'll all come together and get a lot smoother, and I look forward to doing many, many more. And a final shout out to JB. You got some awesome videos too. So thanks everybody, and I hope you'll subscribe if you like what you see. Uh-oh, Houston, we have a problem.
What?
I think my bowl is broken. It got empty.